welcome you all to Outside the Beltway Radio. My name is Alan. I'll be taking care of you for the next about 20-25 minutes. Today's topic is going to be a very serious topic, in my opinion. It's the border chaos going down on our southern border. Now, a lot of you might ask, why do we all of a sudden have an influx of children that are illegal from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador? And there's a very simple answer to that. The cartels in Central America, and Mexico caught whiff of the DACA memorandum that President Obama signed in 2012, which essentially states that children that are already here pretty much cannot be deported. The ICE agents, the Border Patrol, Custom Enforcement can't go after these kids once they're here. So the cartels smartened up and they said, hey, we can make money off this. So they started advertising down in Central America that if you take your kids up to America, they'll be able to stay. Now, the living conditions in Central America are, I would say, almost egregious, right? So these parents are sending their kids, 1,000, 1,800 miles, depending on where they're coming from, through Mexico up to our southern border and just crossing. And as soon as they step foot on our soil, they're allowed to stay. It's unbelievable, but that's the way it is at this point. Because in 2008, President Bush signed into law, along with Congress, a human trafficking law that allows children from non-contiguous countries, so every country but Mexico and Canada, to have due process going through the immigration courts and whatnot. So a combination of those two things have premeditated this influx of kids coming across our border. Now, that's a very serious issue because these are lower class citizens that don't speak English. So once they're here, we pay for everything for them. Medical, education, lawyers. You go down the line, we're paying for all of that stuff. Okay? And these people will not be productive citizens at least till 15 years down the road. That's assuming they become citizens and everything is nothing is done, I should say. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Laura Ingraham. She is a conservative radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor, but she came out with 11 points to solve our current immigration crisis, and also going forward, it will solve our crisis. Now, I got it right here. Let me, it's kind of in depth, so I'm going to read it to you, and it takes a little bit of time, but bear with me. But it's very, very informative and practical. It seems, if you read it, it seems like, why shouldn't we do that? I'm talking about for most rational Americans, okay? Not the far left, utopian kind of people where we're all humans, all that stuff, because that's not reality. I live in reality, okay? All right, I'm going to go down the 11 points real quick for you, okay? As quick as I can. Start deporting people. That's number one. we need to rewrite the law so that the kids crossing our borders follow the same law as Mexico. We have the law on the books for Mexico and Canada. Okay, where they don't have due process. We can send them right back home. Okay, because right now, we're sending them all over the United States. And I'm sure you've seen that on the news. Okay, number 2. Halt foreign aid work and tourist visas for any country that refuses to assist in the repatriation of its citizens who have entered the country illegally. And the same for countries that facilitate the transport of these children. Like Mexico. Right now, they're facilitating the migration of these kids into our country, because these kids have to go through up to like 1,800 miles of Mexico to get to our southern border. And it seems ludicrous to me to think that they don't know thousands of people are traveling through their country that aren't citizens of their country. Number 3, order U.S. financial institutions to stop remittance of illegal immigrants to wire back to their home countries. So what that means is basically, these people that are coming here to work, whether they're on work visas or they're illegal, they come here, they work, and they send money back home to their countries because they can live high on the hog, or their families can, in their home countries when they make money here and send it home. And that's part of the problem, because Mexico, that's the biggest reason Mexico doesn't want to do this, because Mexicans have been doing that for 30 years. And that's helped the economy in Mexico big time. So Mexico really has no interest in helping us. And that's just a fact. Number 3, end birthright citizenship. The Citizens Clause of the 14th Amendment was never meant to require automatic citizenship to infants born here where the parent is not a U.S. citizen. So, and I agree with that, because it's basically the like marrying somebody to get into the United States, which it's a little harder to do that. But once you're born here, you're an American citizen. You know, it has to be, in my opinion, one generation. Or if your parents become citizens in the process while you're a child, you know, of course we're not going to separate families, but the parents have to show some form of pathway to citizenship for them or their children to stay. Number 5, inflict severe penalties against companies that hire illegal aliens. E-Verify. Right there. Now, we have billionaire corporation owners, such as Mark Zuckerman, Facebook, Bill Gates. He's no longer an owner, but he's a billionaire. These people are lobbying to allow more of these illegals into our country so they could have or hire them for smaller or less wages. So there's competition of jobs in our economy where Americans aren't working right now. Number 6, deny privileges of citizenship and legal immigrant status to immigration lawbreakers. No Obamacare, no food stamps, no welfare, disability payments, driver's licenses, apartment rental contracts, mortgages, and bank accounts. If they can't sign a contract to live anywhere legally, it takes away some of their incentive. If you're not going to give them any welfare, if you're not going to give them any disability, if you're not going to give them any type of identification, what's the incentive? It takes a lot. I mean, there's still some incentive. The life here is better, but it takes away a lot of the incentive. Number 7, lifetime ban of returning to America for illegal aliens who use stolen Social Security numbers or other fraudulent identification. So if we catch them and we deport them, now they could never come back to our country, even legally on a passport. They can never come back. Okay. Number 8, pass legislation to amend the George W. Bush era human trafficking law that made it exceedingly cumbersome to deport unaccompanied minors to countries without contiguous borders. Now, I already discussed that. We just have to change it to where everybody's treated the same, so they don't get due process, quote unquote due process, which essentially means that they're going to stay, because they give them a court date, which is usually like 6 months to a year out, and with the influx, it could be even longer than that. So we have to change that law to be able to deport them right away. Number 9, give ICE manpower and resources it needs to do its job. Now, that's where I kind of veer a little bit from Laura, because in my opinion, I think we have enough resources there. It's just how we're implementing the resources, right? The DACA memorandum pretty much ordered all of the ICE agents and the Border Patrol agents to not pursue or prosecute these people. Now, if we're not prosecuting or pursuing these people, they're just coming across and we have no border. All right. Number 10, finish the border fence. Now, this is the one where, for me, is the most important. We have if we have a fence, first of all, the 2006 law should have been finished by now. We should have had 700 miles of fence on our southern border, and we only have 50. Okay, there's been a law in place that requires us to build a fence, and for some reason, I think it's political will, we have not built that fence. Now, building that fence, the number one priority, in my opinion, the number one. We need to stop the influx first, because if we're not stopping the influx and just dealing with the people we have now, pretty soon there's going to be twice the amount of people that we have now, and we're never going to be able to catch up. And then we're going to have millions of people crossing the border, and not over a couple decades, more like over a couple years. Number 11, and this is a peripheral one for me, but Laura Ingraham has experience with this. She actually has adopted a child from Guatemala, I believe, and has been down there and knows what goes on down there. That's why I respect what she's saying also, is streamline adoptions from countries such as Guatemala for qualified U.S. families. That makes sense to me. So all those 11 points all make sense to me. I mean, like I said, I veer off on one of them, but for the most part, they make sense. Number 1, build the wall or fence. And build more than one. Do a double or triple fence. And build them like a mile apart. So if they're trying to dig under, they're going to, end up between another wall and America. They'll be on American soil, but they'll be in between two walls. Now, President Obama has asked for $3.7 billion from Congress to take care of this issue. Now, if you really look at the law, you know that most of the law is to accommodate these illegal aliens that have already crossed, accommodate them here, build facilities, hire more judges, and the judges is a small part of that. He comes out and he does his talking points in his speeches saying, you know, we need to hire more judges, we need to process these people, we need to hire blah, blah, blah. The budget itself is more for lawyers, for facilities to house these people, for medical, and for education of these people. $50 million is set for the actual security of the border out of a $3.7 billion bill. Now you know why the conservatives are saying, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It doesn't even solve the issue. I would argue that doesn't even put a Band-Aid on the issue. It perpetuates the issue. These people go, they're building facilities for us up there. We're coming. Now, as we speak, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, are shipping thousands of illegals all over our country. All over. Okay? Now, this is where the conspiracy comes in. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's starting to make a little sense to me now. Okay? They're shipping to states like California, Nebraska, New York, Arizona, and these are all coming from Texas. For me, to have now and there's a lot more Midwestern states, Colorado, that they're trying to send them to. To me, I mean, besides the California and the New York states, they're sending these people into red states to live and eventually become Democratic voters. For me, the humanitarian argument, I don't subscribe to that. Because there's a humanitarian need virtually almost everywhere in the world. Right? So I don't subscribe to that. Let's go back to the $3.7 billion. Now, I can't remember where I heard it, but I heard a congressman with a great idea. Okay? Now, if we're going to build facilities, if we're going to spend money, we shouldn't build facilities here. We should build facilities in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. Send these people back home and either try and reunite them with their families in their home countries, or send them back home, put them in the facilities, and then send aid to these countries to manage these facilities. Now, that seems completely rational to me. To build facilities here and to house these people here seems it's just unbelievable to me, because right now I've seen anecdotal evidence where like churches, the Catholic Church especially, are taking in hundreds at a time, daily, taking care of them. They all got paperwork now. They've all been halfway processed, haven't seen that judge yet, but we supposedly know they're here. So that paperwork saying they can be here even though they're illegal. They can be here. And they're holding them for a couple days and then just letting them go. If that doesn't scare you as an American, I don't know what would. This is something we've never seen in the history of the world, I don't think. And it's happening on our doorstep. And it's going to cost us big time. In the long run and in the short run. It's unbelievable. And just a quick footnote before I get out of here. $3.7 billion is more money than the Border Patrol got in fiscal year 2014. Just puts it in a little perspective. So, keep an eye out, keep vigilant as an American citizen on what our government is doing. You know, it's really easy to do that in this day and age with social media and things like that. So keep your head up, stay informed, because most of us as Americans just go on with our lives, you know, but that life is not going to be the same if the way we're going continues. So a good way to stay informed is to follow my Facebook page at facebook.com/outside the Beltway radio. And I just created a new page, facebook.com, put a border on, build a wall on the southern border. Facebook.com, build a wall on the southern border. And at Outside the Beltway Radio if you want to tweet me or see my tweets. But I keep up on all this, and I send out as much stuff as I can to keep you guys informed. You know, I do this on my own time. I do it with my own money because I care about this country. And one final thought. If you have not seen They Come to America Part 1 and Part 2 by Dennis Michael Lynch, you must go see it. I know I've mentioned it before, but you have to see it. He goes into depth why this will drastically change our country. And he's not an ideologue. He's just a truly good American. Well, I know this has all been kind of on the down, but I want everybody to have a great afternoon and come back and see me next time. This is Alan Line with Outside the Beltway Radio, and I'm signing.